Welcome back to Cool Clubs headquarters here in Scottsdale. We are with CEO and founder of Cool Clubs, Mark Timms, and we're also here with the co-founder of the Stack System, Marty Jertson. Welcome.
Oh, it's a pleasure to be here.
I don't know if any of you guys have seen it on our social media, but we had a little teaser about this coming out, and today is the full in-depth analysis of the Stack System. And, you know, having co-founder Marty Jertson here really helps to get into the nitty-gritty of what it's all about. So let's hear it. Let's go for it.
Yeah, I think it's the age-old problem in golf. How do you hit the ball further? I mean, it's what everyone wants. We try to do it, and in my career, what you guys have done here is try to do it through helping people with better equipment and better fitting. That's the low-hanging fruit of helping people hit it further. But then the next question is, well, how do you train club head speed? And until this, we think, some people have taken a stab at how to do it. But I was able to partner up with probably golf's leading biomechanist. He's a researcher at a university up in Canada named Dr. Sasha McKenzie. And he came to us with this concept, like it would be cool to have one club with a bunch of weights. This is like going to the gym. Let's say you're going to the gym, right, and you go in there, there's only you're trying to improve your bench press or something, but instead of only having 3 different weights in there, you need to have all these little intervals to make that process, to be able to step your way there as you level up your speed. You need to go up like 5 pounds at a time, 10 pounds at a time. You can't go from 20 to 50. You need to go from 20 to 25, 25 to 30 and work your way there. Right. So that's what the hardware enables us to do. So the stack we came up with is this design. It's one club that has 5 different weights, but when you do the combinatorics on those weights, we have 30 combinations. Right. So you go from basically 0 grams on there to up to 300.
So 0 grams head weight, essentially.
Yes, yeah. The sleeve and our little threaded fastener, they weigh about a total of 80 grams. And so that's why the stack is actually hybrid length. And then we have cool calculations in our app would say, okay, hey, we know this is hybrid length. And then when you're onboarding to the app, you say, my driver is this long. And we have all the calculations, smart algorithms say, well, your driver swing speed will be this. We call it E-speed. Yeah. Or your equivalent speed.
Yeah, and these are the weights right here. So they've got a couple different weights and stuff. They're just basically like barbells, like you said.
Exactly.
And, we obviously, fit people forever and try and get more speed, more distance. And, we can do some of that stuff with clubs with lighter shafts and longer length and all that. But, at the end of the day, customers always go, how do I get, hit it further? And, when you max out all that stuff, the real answer is you just got to swing it faster.
You got to swing it faster.
And, I can get you everything you can, launch and spin perfect, and you can optimize distance. You might gain 15, 20 yards, but if you don't swing it faster, that's the limit you're up against.
We do a good job, and we give them a good golf club, and then they get to a point, and it's like, well, you're maxed out.
Yeah.
Well, this is actually the point where you hand this over and say, well, this is the next max.
Yeah, right. And I think a lot of golfers out there are confused about the difference between strength training and speed training. Right? And strength training is important because it helps prevent injury, can give you more potential for, increasing your ground reaction forces, your vertical force, things of that nature. That's important, overall fitness and health. But it's you can only do so much. A lot of people can strength train and never swing it faster because they're not training speed. It's a fast twitch muscle fibers that you want to be activating and training when you're doing speed training. And so the stack is a solution that is, we've combined the hardware then with an app that guides everything you do with your speed training. So I think you kind of liken it to before the Peloton came out. You might have a road bike in your house. Well, what are you doing in there? Well, I got a timer here and a this here and a heart rate monitor here, and like you're trying to do the right protocol. But then the Peloton comes along, and you're taking a class and you're competing and all your metrics are there. Yep. And so the stack is kind of like that. It's the hardware and the software, the app combined together that's guiding you through everything. And it scales through, any swing speed possible from, someone who's swinging their driver 70 miles an hour. They could be training with this thing up to long drive drivers are training with it, juniors, ladies, older golfers, and the weights cover that entire spectrum.
Does the app, I'm a little unversed on this, so I know that we've done here, we've purchased a launch monitor that measures clubhead speed without impact. Is that the only way to capture the speed currently? You still need a third-party machine to be able to measure the speed itself.
Yeah, exactly. So we have, a lot of our users are using this little PRGR unit. like most of our tour players.
It's like the simplest, smallest kind of.
Yeah, simple.
Less expensive, is accurate, right?
Couple $100, but does a great job at non-impact. So a lot of the launch monitors are built and optimized where it has to have a ball impact, do the calculations. And we've actually, because of our product, Garmin's G80, they did a software update to add non-impact training swings. And then earlier this year, the Mevo Plus, this is an awesome launch monitor.
It's not bad, actually.
It gets really good ball data as well. Launched, they added non-impact swings in all of FlightScope's devices except for the Mevo right now, and they might add it. So the X2, X3 can do non-impact training swings.
And even if these things aren't super accurate and stuff, as long as they're consistent, right? So if it's when TrackMan versus Foresight, Foresight measures speed a little different than TrackMan.
Yeah.
But it doesn't really matter.
It's the whole precision versus
accuracy. If you're at 100
accuracy.
and you get to 105, you've gained something, right? So
actually, this is how detailed we are at the Stack. We actually test all these monitors against a 3D motion capture system, and we look at the bias. And some of them are non-linear, so they'll be slow at slow speeds, high at high speeds. Our algorithms in our app,
they know which ones are
correct all that.
Okay,
it's quite cool.
Yeah, because we did a quick test ourselves, right? When we said that it was actually measuring a little slower.
Yeah.
I said as soon as it's consistent, that's fine. But it's kind of like doing frequency, right? With different length shafts.
Yeah.
If you have different clamps, it's not necessarily exactly linear.
Yeah.
So 5 miles an hour, even TrackMan and Foresight, is not 5 miles an hour all the way across the board from 70 miles an hour to 120. It's different at different speeds. But it's got some kind of, logarithmic curve to it. So you guys figured it out.
Yeah, so we figure all that out, and then our app has algorithms to correct it so that your e-speed, your driver equivalent, your speed, and then we spit out a metric called your distance potential, which is really cool. Going back to the ping and the fitting side of things, it's if you swing your driver this fast, or if you swing the stack this fast,
you come see us, you can get X.
Yes,
right? Or somebody.
So the distance potential is assuming you're fit perfectly.
Right.
So it's really cool, and we
great.
have it all.
I love that.
We have it all transparent of how we do our calculations, everything on our website.
Oh, that's
and
really cool.
Yeah. Right. So the Mevo Plus we actually just connected to, so you can launch an app update, so you can connect to this wirelessly. If not, if you're using like this PRGR, or this is the kind of most basic one here, the swing speed radar. When you're training, you can actually talk your speeds into the app.
Okay.
So hands free.
Keep picking it up and typing it in.
Exactly.
And all that kind of stuff.
And our little weight case acts as a phone stand. This is by design, actually. So you open it up, you kind of fillet it open, and you put your phone in here when you're training, right?
Yeah.
So you have that kind of down there. So that's another little thing we did.
All the little things.
Yeah, exactly.
So do you retail these products on the Stack website too, or is that completely the client's got to go elsewhere to pick these things up?
Yeah, no, we primarily have been selling them direct on our website, thestacksystem.com. We launched in March of last year, and we've had pretty explosive growth in the first year and a half of our product launch. I think for those of you that didn't see it, I think what was really fun was Sasha, my co-founder, has been on Matt Fitzpatrick's team, and he's really fit, and he was on this mission. He's kind of famous for kind of saying, hey, the Bryson style of golf, I don't kind of think it's fair and this type of thing. Well, sure enough, he started working on his speed right after it. And, if anyone goes to Data Golf and you look at Matt Fitzpatrick in the last 2 years, he went from a short on the PGA Tour. Now he's legitimately a long hitter on the PGA Tour. If you watch him play on the weekends, he's over 180 ball speed all the time. And 2 years ago, he could not sniff getting over 170.
There you go.
And all he's been doing diligently, religiously, is the Stack. He uses the same algorithms, the programs. He trains during tournaments. When he won the U.S. Open, he had 2 sessions.
That's cool. You get
training
to look at
sessions.
That, right?
Yeah, and so one of the cool things on the Stack with the app is that we have a coach's solution. Right, so a coach can buy one. We have a lot of coaches doing this. If they're trainers, they would buy the Stack in our coach's license, and they can connect to their students, and you can see all their data in the app.
That's perfect. You can see their progression.
Their
when they're training, keep tabs on them.
Yeah, it's really fun. And one of the cool metrics we have in the app is the score. We're trying to figure out, okay, how do we incentivize someone's training, even if they're maybe hitting a plateau, right?
Just like weightlifting, I'm sure you do the same thing at some point,
exactly.
right?
Yeah. I mean, you're in there, you're sticking to it, but you got to work through a plateau, right? And so we came up with this calculus called your grit score. It's how well you train to the intervals, because we don't recommend doing speed training every day, just like weightlifting.
Right.
You do it every, depending on the protocol, every 48 to 72 hours usually. And your grit score is calculated by how well you maintain training within the rest windows there. And also you rest, and the app guides you through it with timers in between reps. So you swing about every 15 seconds. Again, it kind of depends. And so if you stick to that training protocol, have the right rest intervals in your workout, and then you have a very high grit score.
Yeah.
And so if you're a trainer or a coach, you can just say, hey, the higher the grit score, the better my student is sticking to the program.
I could see this getting totally out of hand. And Sasha's the right guy for this, right? I've known Sasha for a while, and I've met him a couple of times. He's been out for some of our seminars things, and I've been to some seminars with him. But he's the best of the best. He really gets it. And you love all this geek stuff. But, I could see that, because I'm pretty religious on this. I use an Aura ring, right, to track. There you go, right? How well I sleep and how my heart rates and the breathing and for exercise and all that stuff. And I could see you linking into those sort of things at some point in time.
Apple Health type of thing.
On when to train, on how your body's doing, right? So
exactly.
Yeah. Same reason you work out too much. You just mentioned training with weights, right? So if you lift weights one day, and most people will try this at some point in time, if you go to lift those same weights the other day, next day you're actually weaker. And the same thing happens with club hits. If you don't play a ton of golf and play every day, when I was trying to practice for something, you take a bunch of swings one day, and your swing speed, if you're on launch mode or whatever, maybe 100 or whatever. But you do that pretty heavily. The next day it might be 98, 99. You can't get there.
Totally.
It depends how often you train too in the intervals. But I'm sure you're working on all that stuff.
Mark, you're going to love this. Cool. So we actually are. We have some of our users have different rest intervals than others, and so it's kind of driving AI.
How do you drive the rest interval? Oh, right now you're just looking at
So
how they improve based on the rest time.
Exactly. And
well, you tie that into all this other stuff, though. It'd be pretty slick. When
so
to do it, or the optimal window is.
We're constantly doing little micro experiments on our users to see who, let's say one group is doing rest intervals of like 15 seconds, the other one 20. Then we'll be looking at that data and saying, okay, hey, 20 seconds is actually better than 15, or vice versa.
I could see you doing that. A bunch of data mining and some algorithms, and you figure out.
We're constantly doing these little micro experiments. So that's kind of driving the AI. So the programs are always getting better. And right now we have 11,000 people training and over 4 million swings tracked, right, so far. And so that data set's going to continue to grow, and then our programming is going to become more and more intelligent. So, before we had this, imagine Sasha, it was a really big deal for him to bring 20 people into his lab to do a 6-week program and track everything. Now we're doing it at like this, the
grand scale.
Big scale.
And anytime we do player testing, as even for, because we always do a lot of robot testing, but we do some testing for other companies for player testing too. And all that changes over time. And the more data you get, we're doing one for another training thing, that's how solid you hit it. But, you can get 10 swings of this and 10 swings of that, and you can look at it. And you might see something, but you might see something different than somebody else. If you've got hundreds of thousands and millions of pieces of data, you can really predict when is the right time to get the optimal performance out of what you're doing. Because time is the most valuable thing to most of us, right? And that's my big deal.
Yeah. So that's a big part of what we do at the Stack is this is the most efficient use of time to gain club head speed. We don't want to waste someone who's going through this. We don't want to waste 1 second of their time, right? And so that's why the rest intervals are very important. You don't train. We get a lot of customers like, hey, I want to be training every day. And we're like, no, you need to wait, right? Wait a few days, just like weightlifting.
Yeah.
I'm sure. I was just thinking, but listening to what you're saying there, like age has got to be a factor, right? You're going to get young guys that are going to be able to just hammer it and, keep going. And you might see a different interval period being more beneficial for an older guy than a younger guy or girl,
Yeah.
That's kind of cool. I guess it's a bit like TrackMan did, with the university. It's like, here, give us all the data and help us improve this, and your clients are actually making your product better.
Exactly. Yeah, you get that network effect where everyone out there training is creating improvement for everybody else.
So give us an idea of, something someone can look at this and say, I want to buy it, I want to improve my speed. When they get it out of the box, what have they got to do? They got to sign up for like a 6-week program, a 10-week program. What gains are they expecting to get? Where's it at?
Yeah, no, yeah, those are great questions. So right when you get your product, our website has all of our list of compatible radars. So you get those two things. Our app is on iOS. And the first thing you do is what's called the baseline session in the app. And we'll take you through a guided program. First, we kind of have a bunch of videos in the app from Sasha of warm-up protocols. After you or maybe if you've done it after a light workout or something, you're kind of naturally warmed up.
Oh, that's your way. If I just add an extra 15 minutes into my workouts next door,
Exactly.
that would be the time to do it.
It's perfect. If you do it right at the end of that, Mark,
that's the only. If I don't have it scheduled, it won't happen. But that's exactly
do it right over there.
Yeah.
Tack on 15 minutes and you're good. So the longest part is that first session called your baseline session. And what we do there is we have you swing your own driver as part of it to get a benchmark on your actual driver club head speed. You can either hit balls or do it dry, either way, dry swings. And then we take you through a calculated series of kind of light, medium, heavy weights, and we generate what's called a force velocity curve. And it's basically how much my club head speed slows down as I go heavier is going to be very different than yours.
Yes,
and that actually creates the tailored custom programming, and it drives the recommendation for what you do. It's literally like having Sasha's brain in the app, right? Yeah. And him creating a custom program for every golfer out there.
Well, we kind of see this even with club fitting a little bit, right? You give some people a ping driver, not the new one necessarily, but some of the older stuff with a heavy head.
Yes.
And just can't get it going, and you give them a Callaway that's a bit lighter and they can move it quicker. And there might be a trade-off in ball speed in that equation too, but there's different abilities to move product.
Yeah, and everybody's different, right? So it's not the same for everybody.
Or
every age group.
So we've actually data mined the stack data to help us improve our ping driver designs. Now this is really cool because we were wondering how much does it vary when you add 10 grams of mass to the club head.
Right.
On average, a player's club head speed slows down 1 mile an hour if you add 10 grams. But that's on average. Individually, you might slow down 0.7, you might slow down 1.3. So there's different sensitivities, and that's what you've seen.
Yeah.
And we actually use that to help us figure out, okay, for players of a certain club head speed, their sensitivity is this. Female sensitivity is different than males, and that's driving our head weight optimization at ping.
Well, we know this is. I kind of had a feeling something was going on because the new product, we won't say it is because I think this is going to come out before that does, but the new product incorporates that ability in.
Absolutely.
In it.
Yeah. So. And so this research, having all these users and all that data, we had quite fun time data mining all that.
Awesome.
So when somebody first onboards, they go through that baseline session, and it's a little bit longer because you're doing a little more swings. And the other cool part, and Sasha will work with, for example, Graham McDowell, Padraig Harrington on this, is he's found that some players are actually slower with their trail arm than their lead arm, or slower with their lead arm than their trail arm, right? So as part of it, we actually take all the weights off, and you do single arm swings.
Okay.
And if you haven't done it before, there's videos from Sasha, a lot of it's coordination, especially kind of your lead arm thing. Or if you have any shoulder injuries or whatever, you can skip it. You have the option to skip it. Yeah, I have a bad left shoulder, so sometimes I struggle with the left arm only swings. But part of our training protocols, and again, Sasha did this with Graham McDowell back in the day, was to train your right arm. And if you get your right arm to be faster, both through its speed and also the coordination of it, it will unlock your two-handed swing, right?
So what you're basically doing, if I understand this correctly, right? So it's almost like a TPI screening. You're measuring all the things they can do, and then the software is, basically, Sasha's telling you, okay, if this, and this, then these are the things you need to do to get
100%.
Faster, rather than the other way around.
Yep.
So that's really cool.
Yep.
Yeah.
So you do this baseline session, then most people go through one of our protocols called the foundation. It's like the meat and potatoes program. And then 6 weeks later, it takes about 6 weeks, plus or minus a little bit. And then 6 weeks later, you repeat that same assessment and see where you're at. And that's called your progress check. And the average user has gained 6 miles an hour from the baseline to the progress check in 6 weeks. Some have gained more. Obviously, some have gained less that already.
I tell you what, I got some guys that would spend, a couple $1,000s for a mile an hour, let alone 6.
Exactly.
I know a few guys that spend $1 million for a couple of miles an hour.
Exactly.
I don't have the money,
So
but I would
it
spend if I had
is
it.
probably the lowest hanging fruit that you can do. I mean, just
Right.
put the 6 weeks in. Keep your grit score up, stick to the program, and most likely you'll see 4, 6, 8 miles an hour of club head speed, and then you go through that progress check, and you do another evaluation of your force velocity profile, and it will calculate the best next program to do after that.
I'm willing to bet the force velocity profile you're talking about is going to be a pretty common phrase soon.
Yeah. Yep. And then we have programs to maintain your speed during the season. So we have custom programs like, oh man, I only have 30 minutes a week. What's the most efficient thing I can do?
Oh, wow.
Right? And you can do that. We have a pre-round speed priming protocol. This would be a great thing for you guys to do before you fit someone for a driver. Hey, how do you warm up, right? And it'll take you through a short, like 10-minute warm up, not a full training protocol. And it will get somebody like, muscle fibers, fast twitch muscle fibers activated. And you could do that before your round or maybe even before, a fit.
Yeah, definitely.
That's pretty neat.
This is going to sound like a stupid question, but you said your average gain is 6 miles an hour, and that's measured with the stack.
Yep.
Does that directly correlate to 6 miles an hour with the club?
Yeah, that's a good question. We've had tons of testimonials with that, and when you do that progress check, you swing your driver again.
Right.
And so we're absolutely seeing that with your driver.
Yeah.
Now the question is, do you bring that to the golf course, right? And that's another skill that we've seen. We haven't been able to measure that directly, but anecdotally, we have the overwhelming feedback. I think from Matt Fitzpatrick is our
Right.
poster child for that. You watch him on TV and the shot tracer, and now he's like over 180 ball speed on all his drives.
Yeah.
You're just like, holy smokes, it definitely transfers to the course. But I think one of the fun things about this is, and Sasho describes it as what you're learning with the stack is the skill of like swing stick fast, right? That's what you're doing. It's that fundamental skill. Club head speed is the biggest predictor of handicap, right? I mean, it's the biggest correlating factor is your club head speed. So it's kind of the lowest hanging fruit. And so, yeah, we've seen fantastic kind of qualitative feedback of being able to transfer this on course. And one of the funnest pieces is your training with the stack is you get that feedback on your club head speed with 100% of your swings. And so you can I find myself when I do it self-experimenting with what is the swing thought? What's the cue? Am I lifting my left heel? Am I turning my hips more? Am I raising my hands more? Everybody is going to kind of be able to explore those things, and you get the instant feedback. The app even cheers for you when you set a personal record. That's super motivating.
That's pretty fun.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to ask, actually, you kind of touched on it there anyway. Is there a bad way of producing more speed? Do you know, like, have you seen any correlations? Well, yeah, no, all of a sudden I've got 6 miles an hour more speed, but I'm swinging the club worse.
Yeah, I think that's that. I think what you want to do there is like blend your speed with face delivery and impact centeredness. And so that's kind of the marriage of those two things. We have seen almost all of our players gain more speed, also drive the ball better, improve their strokes gain driving. So again, I think it's from that. If you take a step back and look at what we're trying to train here, it's kind of breaking through that myth before the old days where like none of the tour players like worked out. They thought getting stronger might somehow make them wilder.
Yeah.
Well, that myth has been busted. And so I think swinging faster. That it feels scary, like, oh, I'm going to hit it more erratic. But actually, I think if we look back in 5 years, that myth is going to be busted too.
Well, if you talk about, all the tour players years ago and stuff, they were all swinging 78%. I mean, most of them are going at it pretty damn hard these days.
They're just absolutely, ripping.
Yeah, I mean, if you can gain 10 miles an hour or 5 or whatever, and they swing a little smoother on the golf course, I mean, you're still ahead of the game and control it.
I totally agree.
Right?
And so, if Mark, think about it this way. If somebody hits a driver and they hit it, how much does the ball speed vary? You guys see in your robot testing from a center hit to...
Oh, it's huge. As I tell people, I mean, people say, I want to gain distance, and I get one driver over another, and you get one that goes, length is a big thing, right? So everyone, especially the last couple of years before the USGA kind of roll it back a little bit to 46 for tour players, everyone's trying longer and longer drivers.
Yep.
There's a point of diminishing turn. Even if you gain another mile an hour by making an inch longer, but you mishit it off center.
Yeah.
I mean, a mile an hour you get around 100 miles an hour, you're talking 3 yards or something, right? 3 or 4 yards. It doesn't sound like much, but it's 12 feet. a long way to be in front of somebody you're playing with.
Yeah.
But if you miss it off center, you lose 25 yards.
Yeah.
And if you miss it at like a 3/4 of a center, and we do a bunch of robot testing on this, you lose like 30 yards. So, yeah, it's a big deal.
So if you have more speed, if you have more gross speed to start with, sometimes now those mishits can go as far as your pre-stack good shot.
Yeah.
Like, think about it that way. That's what I noticed. Like, the turning point for me with speed training was when I played in the PGA Championship at Belle Reve in 2018. I got paired with Luke List. Okay. And I was sneaky short. My swing looked like I was swinging fast, but I was swinging slow. And I played with him. He's literally 60 yards by me. Literally. I'm hitting it like 280.
You're not that short. I played with you. And you were maxed out everywhere, too.
My fitting was good.
Yeah, everything.
No issues with the
question
fitting.
there.
I had a speed issue, And so that's when I was like, man, I got to do something. And so 1 year later, I started training with a prototype version of this with Sasho. I did some deadlifting stuff Sasho helped me with. 1 year later, I was 25 yards longer through speed training and a little bit of strength training. And that's when I made the cut at Bethpage in the PGA Championship.
Well, I'll tell you, as much as like next year's driver for any company, and Ping makes great stuff too. That's incremental. You get a little bit more and a little bit better here and there. You don't gain 10 yards a year. Or we all be hitting 600 yards.
Yeah.
You gain 10 miles an hour or even 5, you'll gain 20 yards.
Yeah.
It's huge.
Yeah. So I think that myth will be busted that, hey, swing it faster, but you're automatically going to hit it more wild. Not necessarily. And then we've also shown that from a strokes gain driving standpoint, we may have talked about this before, for every 3 yards you gain, you can live with 1 yard of offline from a strokes gain driving standpoint. So distance is proportionally more important than accuracy.
Yeah.
And this is the calculus that Bryce and all these guys are doing.
That's right.
Right? Yeah. Hey, if I gain 15, I can be 5 yards wider, and that's a break-even strokes gain driving on an average golf course.
I'd rather be hitting a wedge into the green out of the rough than I would have an 8-iron from the fairway.
I played in the U.S. Open at Wingfoot.
And
the fairways were, this is the one Bryson obviously won. The fairways were so narrow, there may have not have been fairways.
Down the middle, basically.
Yeah. It was literally like you're going to hit 1 out of 3 fairways.
Anyway.
Yeah.
So you better hit it 20
may
yards
as well
longer.
just, bomb it down there. So the golf course is very dependent on that, obviously. But distance is proportionally more important than accuracy. In general, from a yardage standpoint, strokes gain driving standpoint.
And that's the technology thing, too. The drivers are so much more forgiving. You wouldn't want to try that off with a driver with a wooden head from years ago. I play in a Hickory tournament once a year. You hit that thing offline, and it's offline.
Yeah.
Now you got protection and security behind
exactly.
with the tech.
What I like about the quicker speed is maybe the more, just call it when me holding back a little bit. But if I feel like I could swing at 120 with a driver, that means I can swing at 150 with the lights off.
Yes, totally.
I don't have to go at it 120.
Yeah, you're raising your ceiling.
That's where people can actually find it. They can actually swing smoother tempo and still have speed there, and that's really important.
So gaining more speed is not just about the driver. Then it's about, hey, I'm hitting 2 less clubs into the green, and guess what? When you have more speed on your irons, we talked about this before. More speed drives height. Now you got steeper landing angles, right? And you have more spin. That's a big problem people struggle with. Their irons going too low. So it's kind of the ultimate meta skill.
That's a big thing in irons too, right? Because we actually look at that. As one of you do the rating on irons and stuff, we look at land angle and stopping power is a big thing.
Yep.
It's great if you make a 7-iron that goes, somebody swings 10 yards longer, but if 15 of that yards is roll, that doesn't help you any. You can roll through bunkers or water for that matter.
A characteristic of just ball flight and aerodynamics is that increasing ball speed only and not changing launch or spin drives peak height and landing angle.
Oh, yeah. I tell people all the time because I hit it really super high. Yeah. And I say I used to hit it a lot higher. The difference is it just kept going longer. And it just stops going up much earlier now than it used to.
Well, once you get on the stack,
you got me sold.
Yeah, exactly.
Like I said, I have a hard time scheduling all this stuff with everything I got going on. Obviously, like we talked about earlier, we're trying to get to the PGA show to launch all these stuff and everything.
Our app, you can add reminders right to your calendar.
Oh, that's what it is.
Hey, we've solved that too, Mark.
Hell, my ring tells me when to go to sleep. My reminders tell me when to do this. So I'm just going to stick this right behind my workout. That's easy.
That would be perfect. That's
what
I do.
Add 15 minutes to my workout, which is like an hour, couple, 4 times a week or whatever.
Yep.
Would be huge.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's been fun. And on our journey with the stack is we've also actually launched a putting mode, right? It kind of seems, why is the speed training thing doing putting? And it's in beta version now. But again, it's under that theme. We kind of want to have a skill stack. It's like your golf skill stack. Speed's number one, then it's putting, and the putting's really cool. It's you play 18 holes on the practice green, but the app tells you hit like a 12-footer left to right, and then you report back because we have this technology where you can put earbuds in or talk to the phone.
Right.
You can just put your earbuds in, put it in pocket mode, and you talk to the app and you report back what you did on that putt. You could say, oh, I misread it, or I missed it long left or fast left, fast right, slow right. And you actually get strokes gained putting analytics, and the app is gathering all this data, and it's going to put you on a putting program to improve your putting.
And it's basing this strokes gained off PGA Tour average.
Yes, and eventually, because there's not a great baseline for different handicap golfers for putting, we're establishing that right now. Because we have golfers of all different putting handicaps establishing, so now you don't need to compare to a PGA Tour player because it's really hard to get 0 strokes gained putting.
Right.
Even for me, like I putt 18 holes really good, and I'm like 0 strokes gained compared to a tour player.
Yeah, they're good at it, believe me.
So
you'll a bunch of them. They're really good.
Eventually, you'll be able to go in there and change your baseline to 12 handicapper, 4 handicapper, or whatever. And that's been really fun. We've had like Ben Crane has been addicted to it. He's been addicted to it.
That's a shout to Ben Crane to please come out and do some more of those videos as well.
Exactly. We need you back, man. But that's been quite fun. So it's in beta mode now, and then coming in the spring, anybody will be able to go out there and download that from the App Store. So that's a kind of a little fun thing on the side. But some people are loving the putting even more than the speed. But they're both amazing. Yeah. It's part of this. What is the most efficient use of time to practice your game? In the putting, the way the putting works is it's a weighted distribution, and it has you hit putts at a weighted distribution of the most important putts from a strokes gained putting standpoint. So, Mark, I don't know about you, but I'd go to the practice green and I'd be banging in 3-footers all day, and then I go lag 50-footers. Well, then what do you do on the course? You get like a 12-footer, 8-footer, 6-footer,
practice those enough.
14-footer. These are the most important putts from a strokes gained putting.
I don't know. For me, I'm always at 50 foot because my proximity to the hole is terrible.
Come on. We can fix that.
We had fun with that yesterday, didn't we?
Yeah, that was it. Yeah,
but how far is your second putt?
Probably exactly
6
right.
feet.
Yeah, still another 10 feet. Yeah.
Exactly. So that part's really cool. And then you got all these cool analytics. Are you better or worse at left to righters, right to lefters? Do you misread more right to lefters, left to righters? How's your speed from different distance buckets, right? You get all these really cool analytics. We have these spider diagrams in there showing everything.
I can see this getting totally out of hand.
Yeah.
All kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
But, to start with, I mean, not to make this thing drag on forever, but, I mean, this is basically your weight set for gaining speed.
Exactly.
And, I mean, I think that's just fantastic. So I'm going to give some of these away for Christmas. This is my Christmas present to myself as well, by the way.
Yeah. Awesome.
I'm going to stick it behind at the end of the gym routine, see what happens.
Well, that's a good segue. We've done all the technology, all the data. Yeah, plug its price, plug it where you can buy it, and maybe a COOLCLUBS code.
Yeah, exactly. We're gonna get a code here. We'll put a link down there, right, in the show notes in the bio there on YouTube, and we'll get COOLCLUBS folks tuning into this thing a 10% discount.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
So yeah, the stacksystem.com. Check it out. We got a bunch of cool videos. You can learn about everything on there. How to. I think it's important to find the right compatible radar and plug that in. We got a bunch of different price points, and more of them are going to be doing that. We got a really cool Instagram page. Our handle's just at the Stack System, Twitter at the Stack System.
Awesome.
If anyone has any questions, we got our contact form. Email us, and we can answer any questions. We have some really cool how-to videos, some cool things to learn about there on the website.
Great. And we'll have some in the store here pretty soon. Actually, today actually.
Yeah, today.
But yeah, definitely. No problem going online too. That's easy.
Yeah.
We'll get this out before Christmas, so hopefully some people get some decent presents this year.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah. I mean, it's the gift that keeps on giving.
Yeah.
Awesome. Clubhead speed.
Thanks, Marty.
Awesome, mate. Thanks for coming out. Appreciate it, guys.
You got it.